according to the feasibility of students. And this is the basic information, my name, my number, and my email address. If you have any query, you want to ask anything regarding IELTS exam or regarding OET, so you may contact. So I'm going to start with my basic introduction. My name is Aqsa. I'm a graduated from Dow University of Health Sciences. I've done my BS from Dow University, and I've done my post-graduation recently from Jinnasin Medical University. I've done my MBA in Hospital and Healthcare Management, and I'm a gold medalist of Batch 2021. I have my own FB page with the name of IELTS with Aqsa on FB. I have my Instagram account and I have my YouTube channel. And there are many educational content regarding the English proficiency and fluency test you will be having if you visit. And do follow and do visit. Okay, and make sure if you are joining, please अपना जो माइक है उसे भी ऑफ कर लीजिए एंड अपना कैमरा भी ऑफ कर लीजिए जिसका भी ऑन है. Okay, so there are certain rules of the class. If you have any question, you can raise your hand and always try to keep your mic off. Okay, so one of the basic question we all have, why we need to do IELTS? Why IELTS? So this is a very basic question we all student have. We all have some kind of misconceptions regarding IELTS. We have some superstition that it's a complex test. So IELTS is not a complex test. It would be a piece of cake for all of you if you have the knowledge about the format of the paper, the content of the paper, and the level of difficulty you all will be having. Also, if you have the guidance and tips and trick, there are certain strategy and tips and trick regarding the IELTS exam, so you can all clear IELTS with flying bands. So IELTS is an international English language testing system, which is the worldwide leading language test for those who require proof of their English proficiency for the purpose of work, study, or migration. IELTS is generally divided into academic IELTS and the journal IELTS, and the more recent life skill IELTS has been introduced. Even the UKVI IELTS has also introduced, which is taken for study purpose and work and immigration. For the IELTS exam, there is no limit, no such criteria has been introduced. So, and there is no restriction on the number of attempts. You can attempt as many times as you want unless you will get the desired bands. Okay, and almost 48 times a year this test has been conducted. There are 3 centers, AEO Pakistan, British Council, and IDB Pakistan, who are responsible for conducting the IELTS exam, and around 48 times in the year it's conducted, and it measures the competency of a non-native English speaker if you are planning to move to a foreign country, and if you have a desire to work with the natives. So this is the most common exam who is going to assess the competencies you have to communicate with the natives or to have the proficiency, fluency in English, and it's going to be assessed by 4 modules, which is known as writing, listening, speaking, or reading. And there is no such official eligibility criteria to take IELTS. And the reason why most of the students pursue IELTS rather than TOEFL, Duolingo, PTE, or OET, because it's not as complex as other tests, and around thousands of institutes are there in the developed economic countries around the globe, which gives benefit with good bands, and they are recognizing IELTS certificates. So the first benefit you can see, it's access to global employment opportunities. The global multinational brands or companies which are overseas, they need the proficiency certification to get work visa and start a professional life, such as in USA, Australia, Canada, Germany, and UK. So they accept IELTS. The second benefit you can see, higher education and study program overseas. So there are top education destination or institute like UK, USA, Canada, Germany, which require the aspirants to take academic tests such as IELTS. There are many countries where you can get the scholarship, or you can get the graduation program admission in the graduation post graduation program without the IELTS. But I recommend you to go for IELTS, because if the university doesn't going to ask you, maybe there is a chance that embassy is going to ask you. So at the 11th hour, you are going to rush. So it's better if you are preparing yourself and you are just gathering the documents. So go for IELTS first. After passport, IELTS certificate is one of the mandatory certificate which must be having in the file of your documents. Then the third purpose of doing IELTS is immigration and permanent residency. It's a dream of every meritorious and skilled individual to settle down in Canada, Germany, USA, or any other country such as Australia. So IELTS is important to integrate, communicate, and work in this type of environment. So now IELTS has different type. We all know about academic IELTS, general IELTS, but there is also another IELTS which is known as UKVI IELTS. It's a UK visa and immigration IELTS, and it's subdivided into UKVI academic IELTS, UKVI journal IELTS, and then a life skill IELTS. There are three levels of life skill IELTS. A1 life skill IELTS, and it's a test of around 16 to 18 minutes. Then A2 life skill IELTS, 20 minutes. And B1 life skill IELTS, which usually take 22 minutes. Furthermore, we are going to discuss about such type of IELTS. Now we all have a question. What is the main difference between the academic IELTS and the journal IELTS? The academic IELTS will contain such topics which are suitable for anyone entering into the university or professional institute, but the journal training IELTS will contain topic based on journal interest. There is only a one difference into the test format, the content, the syllabus. The writing task one is totally different for the academic IELTS and for the journal IELTS. In academic IELTS, in task one, you will be having infographic information and you need to elaborate such information. In journal IELTS task one, you will be having letter, three types of letter, and you need to write down those letter. And then the reading, the format of the reading test would be same for both of the types of IELTS, but the reading passages would be different. Now there is another question which is related to UKVI IELTS. So UKVI IELTS, if you go for the academic UKVI IELTS or for the UKVI journal IELTS, it's same like the normal academic IELTS and journal IELTS. There is no such difference. The content would be same, the scoring level would be same, the format would be same, even the level of difficulty would be same. But it's only for the UK. It is a UK government approved secure English language test, which is approved by the UK government. If you have a plan to pursue your education or your career in the United Kingdom, then you should go for the UKVI IELTS, UKVI journal IELTS, or UKVI academic IELTS. It is particularly for the UK visa and immigration. And it's also acceptable by some of the countries except UK, but you have to make sure before applying that are they accepting the UKVI IELTS or not. The fees in Pakistan, in Karachi, for the UKVI IELTS is 37,800. If we go for the normal academic or journal IELTS, I think it's around 55,300 something, including the tax. Okay, so UKVI IELTS is subdivided into academics and journal, and you may go according to your requirements. and it's totally same like journal IELTS and academic IELTS. Only difference is that the test report will mention UKVI IELTS, and the test report of the journal or academic IELTS will mention that it's going to be acceptable worldwide. So the test report has UK Home Office approval. It's approved by the UK Home Office. Now let's talk about the life skill IELTS. Some of you may not have heard about the life skill IELTS. It's generally known as a A1 IELTS. It's known as a A1 IELTS. There are three levels of IELTS: A1 IELTS, A2 IELTS, or B1 IELTS. It's depend upon the application you are applying for. So maybe the country will ask you to go for A1 and A2 level, or maybe they ask you to go for the three levels: A1 level, A2 level, or B1 level. Clear all those levels. The life skill IELTS is the only IELTS which has two modules. One is speaking and the second one is listening. Rather than life skill IELTS, all those IELTS have four modules: speaking, listening, reading, writing. And its life skill IELTS is basically done for Common European Framework of Reference of Language, which is known as CELF. And those who are applying as a family of a settled person visa or applying for the citizenship, so they go for the life skill IELTS. The total fee of the life skill IELTS is 29,300. The life skill IELTS, if I talk about the A1 and A2 have two parts. And if you go for the B1, it has three parts. In the first part, you have a general question and short discussion on everyday life. It's depend upon your social life. In the task 2, there will be a CD played, and then you need to give the journal meanings and details about the scenario you have heard in the CD. And the task 3, which is the included in the B1 IELTS only, it's going to be an activity with other candidates. The result of life skill IELTS come in only 7 days. If you go for the journal IELTS or academic IELTS, so there are two scenarios. Maybe you are going to apply for the paper-based IELTS. If you apply for the paper-based IELTS, so the result will come in 10 to 15 days. If you go for the computer-based IELTS, so the result maybe, I think it's going to be come in 3 to 5 days. So this is only a difference. Also, there is a difference of timing, which I'm going to mention later. Okay, so AEO Pakistan and British Council, they give you the opportunity to go for both for the paper-based IELTS or for the computer-based IELTS. Both the options are available. But if you go for the IDP Pakistan, you have selected IDP Pakistan as your center for conducting this test. So IDP Pakistan only offering you the computer-based IELTS exam. So make sure what type of IELTS you want to pursue or you want to appear. So then select your center. Okay, now let's talk about the academic IELTS, because mostly of us are a student. We have graduated or post-graduated, and now we want to go and avail the scholarships program, or we want to pursue further education. So the criteria of academic IELTS is divided into writing, reading, speaking, and listening. The writing has two tasks. The task 1 is known as an infographic task, in which you have different types of graph, charts, picture, or map. And you will be having 20 minutes to complete part 1. And then the part 2, which is known as a essay part, and in the essay part you have 40 minutes to complete. So the total time allotted or allocated in the task, in the writing task, is going to be 1 hour, and you need to make sure that you are managing with the time, because time management is important in IELTS exam. Most of the students are failed to manage the time, and then they have the consequences. The reading task, which is one of the most complex module of IELTS, most of the students complain that they are not securing the desired bands in the reading task, even in the mock test. So they may afraid and they are more terrified for the reading. But there are certain tips and tricks, so you can go and you can get the desired bands if you follow those tricks. So reading usually have three passages. It's divided into section 1, section 2, and section 3, and each section have 20 minutes to complete. So there is a tip: if you complete section 1, means one passage in before 20 minutes, just carry forward this time to passage 2. And if you have completed passage 2 before 40 minutes, then carry forward this time to passage 3, because passage 3 may be quite complex regarding the level of complexity in the reading task. So for the reading, you all will be having 1 hour if you go for the paper based IELTS, or if you go for the computer based IELTS, it's same. Even the writing task, it's same, it's going to be 1 hour. Speaking is going to be in 3 parts: the part 1, which is known as a journal part; the part 2, which is known as a cue card or prompt card part; and the part 3, which is known as a long talk or the discussion part. The total time of the speaking exam, speaking, which is more like an interview, you will be having 14 to 15 minutes of an interview speaking test, and the number of question is going to be around 11 to 15. The length of the question depend upon the length of the answer you give to the examiner. The more concise, overly concise answers you give, like a answer of only 10 seconds, the length of the question will increase. And what will happen? You will exhaust by giving answers and answers and answers, and then maybe your confidence will be shaken. So try to give the answer with the length of around 40 seconds. If you give the answer of 40 seconds, it will create an impression, but also this will decrease the length of the number of questions the examiner is going to ask you. Then the listening. Now there is a difference between listening. In listening, if you go for the paper based IELTS, you will have 40 minutes. But if you go for the computer based IELTS, you will be having only 32 minutes. The clip you will listen is going to be 30-minute clip, and in 30 minutes you need to write down the answers on the question paper. On the question paper, write down the answers, and then you will be having 10 minutes, and in the remaining 10 minutes you need to copy down those answers on the answer sheets. On the computer, you will have only 2 minutes to write down the answer on the answer sheets. Okay, make sure if you have written those answers on the question paper, but you have not written the answer on the answer sheet, you will be considered as fail. No matter how many questions the answers will be corrected, you have to write down the answers on the answer sheet, and then you have to return back to the invigilator. Okay, so let's talk about the academic IELTS. Academic IELTS, the first writing task. The writing task, the first task is known as an infographic task. You need to elaborate the given chart, graph, picture, map, flow chart, number chart. There is a variety of infographic data you will be having. Means a scatter data which is now accumulated, and now it's more concise, and now it's readable, and it's give a concept. You just need to copy down the concept into your own words, but you have to write the answer with the coherence and with the cohesion. Means you need to stick to the concept which they have given you in the form of the graph. You cannot show over efficiency, or you cannot try to be fancy. Just write down in your own words the given information which they have already given you. Now you will be having 20 minutes to complete task 1 of academic IELTS, both in academic IELTS and both in general IELTS. The minimum words are required is 150 words, but to get more marks, to uplift your bands, from 6 to 7 plus, try to make an aim to write 160 to 180 words. Okay, your writing should be from 160 to 180 words for the task 1. This is one of the most clever tip I give to my students. Now for the task 2, which is a essay part, is it's same for both the general IELTS and academic IELTS. There are basically 5 types of essay. You need to prepare yourself for the preparation of IELTS exam, and you need to write a precise and concise essay. You will be having 40 minutes. In 40 minutes, you need to plan, formulate, organize what you are going to write in your essay. Your essay can be in your natural writing style, but make sure that the lexical resources you are using, the linkers you are using, and the phrases, phrasal verbs you are using, and the grammar you are using, they must be accurate up to the mark. There will be no negligence, or there is a zero policy will be followed for the spelling mistake. No spelling mistake would be allowed, no grammatical error would be allowed, no punctuation error would be allowed. The minimum words they want you to write are 250 words, but try to make an aim to write an essay of 260 to 280 words in order to get more marks. For the academic task 1, to get 7+ bands, you need to give a clear overview of main trends, differences, or stages are shown. For example, there are certain trends in your graph. The first trend is known as an upward trend. You can see a sudden rise of something, means if you have the number of sales, you can see that there is an increase in the sales. So there are a series of vocabulary you can follow to show that upward trend. For example, the data rose, the data went up, the data rocketed, the data jumped. This is how you are going to write. So there are certain trends. There is a trend of fluctuation will be shown. There is a trend of stagnity, or there is a trend of steady. Data will be shown. Downward trend will be shown. So you need to follow such information. And to write a precise overview, you need to summarize what you see in the visual diagram, and you need to summarize the main trends, changes, developments, stages, and all those noticeable changes or features which are unable to be negligible. Journal features are also going to cover, but those specific changes you need to cover in the overview. Now, this is a pure example of the charts you will be having in your academic task 1. This is a bar chart, and on parallel to the bar chart, there is an histogram. We all know the difference between a bar chart and the histogram. There will be no gap in the histogram because histogram is basically for the continuous data. Bar chart has gap because it's for the discrete data. We all know that. So this is an example of a bar chart or histogram that appears in the IELTS test. This is an example of a pie chart. You will be having the pie chart in your IELTS exam in the writing task 1. Then this is an example of a number chart. You will be having number charts. This is an example of flow chart. You will be having the flow chart in your IELTS exam. Okay, so it's a picture task. You will be having the picture in your IELTS exam also. So you need to write down the process or the cycle, how a product is manufactured in a company or in a factory, in an industry. This is an example of a map. There are 3 types of map that appears in IELTS exam. One is a present map, which is not so common. It's a rare type of map which appears in IELTS exam, and you just need to write down in present tense. You all need to follow the present indefinite tense. Then the second one is a present and future map, which comes occasionally, in which you will be having a present map. You see a town, a countryside, and then on the contrary, in future you see a sudden development or a change in the infrastructure. So you need to write down all those specific changes, such development. If there is any building has been demolished or knocked down, is there any a way cleared, any deforestation has been done, you need to write down such thing. Then the most common map which is shown here, it's a past and a present map. there is a farmland or there is a town in the past, and now in the future, in the present, you see that there are certain differences in the infrastructure. So you need to follow such changes to write down your map task. Now let's come to the journal IELTS task 1. And after I think 6 minutes, this class is the link is going to be expired. So you all need to come back and rejoin the same link, and then we are going to start from where we have ended. Okay, now let's come to the journal IELTS task 1, the writing task 1. In journal IELTS, you won't be having the infographic task. You will be having 3 types of letter. The first letter, which is known as an informal letter, like a letter you write to any close one friend, any colleague, which is on the same level you are working, or you are writing a task to your family member, any kids and kin, like your family relative. Then the formal letter, you are writing a letter to your manager, supervisor, or a professor of the university. You are willing to take the scholarship program under his guidance, or you are writing a letter to escalate certain harassment in your office to the upper management. If you are writing an insurance letter to claim the insurance or to file the insurance, then it's going to be a formal type of letter. Then there is another letter where you follow both the writing style. One is formal and informal. It's known as a semi-formal letter. The semi-formal letter, for example, one of your friend has started a business and he invites you to collaborate with him, or he wants you to join his business. Now you need to reply back. So as he is your friend, you are going to start with an informal way. How are you doing? How are you feeling now? I am good here. But when you are going to discuss about the acceptance of the proposal, or if you are going to deny the proposal, then your style would be more formal, because you are discussing about the business. Okay, so it's an example of a semi-formal letter. Now there are more examples which we will discuss later. So for the formal letter, you can see it's an example when you are writing a letter to the insurance company. So it's more like a complaint letter. So it's formal letter. If you are writing an apology letter to your manager for missing the meeting where you need to be present, then it's a formal letter. Informal letter, recently you have started a new company and you are writing to one of your native friend. In your letter, you want to explain why you have changed your job, or describe your new JD job description, and tell him about the other news. So this is an informal or informal letter. So if you need to take an holiday from the work, so it's kind of a semi-formal letter. If you are writing a letter direct to your direct manager, you are appointed under his guidance or under his management. So it's kind of a it's kind of a semi-formal letter which appears in the journal IELTS exam. Now for the essay is same for both the academic IELTS and for the journal IELTS. And there are 5 types of essay which are covered in the IELTS writing examination. The first essay, which is most common, is known as an opinion essay, where a statement has been given and you need to agree with the point or you need to disagree. It's totally depend upon your ideology or your perception, how you perceive certain statement, and it's totally depend upon your relevant information or your knowledge and your experiences. Then the cause problem solution essay, a problem has been given which is globally acceptable, which is globally recognized. For example, obesity, motapa, which is increasing or which is spreading day by day. Now they will ask you to discuss about the most reasonable causes of such problem, and what will be the solid solutions you are going to propose, how you are going to solve such problem. So this is a common type of cause problem solution essay. Then a discussion essay, in which you need to share your point of view. Then a direct question essay, where a direct question has been asked and you need to write down the answer in the form of an essay. Then the fifth one, which most of the student consider as the complex essay, which is an advantage and disadvantage essay. It's commonly known as an outweigh essay. In this type of essay, there is a certain scenario, and you need to discuss about the pros and cons, merit and demerits, and advantages and disadvantages. Now there are two types of probability. The first probability, you will discuss 50% of advantage and 50% of disadvantage. Maybe if you consider or assume or perceive such statement or such scenario, that there are only disadvantages, so there is 100% probability that you will only write the disadvantages and you are going to neglect the advantages. So outweigh mean the greater contribution. So if the advantages have greater contribution in such scenario, then you need to conclude that, you need to show your opinion in the conclusion that the advantages are more, the benefits are more, to neglect or outweigh the negativity of the consequences or the cons. Okay, so only 1 minute left. The meeting is going to be ended, and you all need to come back and rejoin. Now, the speaking module. Speaking module is same for general IELTS and academic IELTS. It's going to be divided into 3 parts. And how it going to be conducted? You are going to enter into the room. There will be only examiner, and you are sitting in front of the examiner. Make sure when you are appearing in an IELTS exam, gestures are important, body language are important when you are having a verbal communication, but in the IELTS exam, only the answers you are giving, that matters. So try to keep your body language as restricted as possible. Don't try to use your hands. Keep it restricted and only